Welcome to Competitive Crunch. This is a show which is not quite bite-sized, hence the crunch. It is more powerful and super effective. My name is Spade, and that was my random introduction of this new series where I'm going to be talking about Pokemon X and Y and mostly about the competitive side of these new Generation 6 games. But on this first episode, I would like to kind of start things off with a bit more of a casual discussion about the new games. But now, Pokemon X and Y, they have been out for almost 2 weeks now, and we are flooded with new information about these new games, and we still don't know the exact facts about everything because there is so many new things. And because of that, because of these, all of this new information, I would kind of like to make this kind of like a one-man talk show and just share my thoughts about the new games and the new features that we have on these games. And without further ado, let's just get the graveler rolling here. So now, for the first time, we have a 3D main series Pokemon game, and you have these beautiful three-dimensional environments, and you can walk diagonally in them, which is mind-blowing in a main series Pokemon game. And of course, not to mention the real meat of the game, which is of course the Pokemon battles, where instead of 2D sprites, you have 3D models. And gotta say, the transition to 3D in Pokemon has been absolutely fantastic in X and Y. And back in 1999, when Red and Blue were first released, at least here in Europe, I live in Finland, by the way. And then I think a year later it was when Pokemon Stadium came out, and that was, at least personally for me, the first experience when we had a Pokemon game in 3D, and that's when I thought, like, how cool would it be to have a full 3D Pokemon adventure in the style of Red and Blue, because that really set the bar for the rest of the games. And Nintendo has kind of been repeating that same pattern for like 5 generations, and well, I guess you could say 6, because I guess the biggest change is the 3D, but it's still kind of the same pattern that just keeps on working from year to year. But anyways, the point being, like, there has been these kind of like spin-off games that spin-off Pokemon games that are in 3D, like Colosseum and Pokemon Battle Revolution and XD Gale of Darkness. But I think it has been clear to everyone that that is not how we really want a main series handheld Pokemon game to be looking like. And gotta say, on that aspect, I'm really glad how Pokemon X and Y look like. The graphics are just absolutely beautiful, and they still kind of kept this pixely look, if you will, of the original games, and which has been kind of like the trademark of the series. And they kept that look, and it really looks like and still feels like an old school Pokemon game, despite being in the 3 dimensions. And that has been just absolutely beautiful, and I really love the transition to it. And now in the Pokemon X and Y, we got in total 69 new Pokemon. And I believe that is the least amount of new Pokemon that has been released by a new generation. Although there are these Mega Evolutions, which I guess in a sense you could still count as new Pokemon. So counting those 28 Mega Evolutions, we would have a 97 new Pokemon in total. And who knows, there might be even new Mega Evolutions that still haven't been released yet. And most likely there's going to be Pokemon Z and everything. That might be, with that we might get new Mega Evolutions. We have gotten like new forms in the past, so who knows if we get like new Mega Evolutions in that game. And who knows, there might be some new events coming up with some new Mega Stones. We still don't know everything about X and Y, because unlike in the past generations, which have been easy to hack open, we haven't been able to do that with Pokemon X and Y. That's why we kind of just have to manually gather all the information, and because of that, we still don't know all the secrets that Pokemon X and Y have to offer us. But Pokemon Mega Evolutions definitely one of the biggest new update in the game, because technically it's like this fourth stage of a Pokemon that hasn't happened in the past, although it's kind of still technically it's a whole new sort of evolution because it only happens in a battle and then you kind of just evolve back. But a few new other features in Pokemon X and Y would be the Horde and the Sky battles, and then you also get experience by catching a Pokemon. That's kind of a interesting new feature that we have. And on that experience note, you would also have to mention the new mechanics of experience share. So instead of the experience share being like the regular item which you can have the Pokemon hold, it has now been turned into a key item which you can just turn on and off. And when you turn it on, your entire team gets experience, which makes the grinding a lot easier in Pokemon X and Y. And in some aspects, I guess it's kind of like a broken item because it is so easy to level up. But then again, you can just, if you really want more challenge from the in-game, you can turn it off. But it's definitely a nice feature because right now I've been working on building my first competitive team, and because I've been doing a lot of IV breeding and EV training and all that stuff, which I'm gonna be talking more hopefully in the future episodes. But I've been doing all this, which has been, if you know about EV training, IV breeding, it takes still a lot of time, even with the new nice features in X and Y. But I'm kind of getting besides the point. Point being, it takes time, and then after I have gotten all these newly bred Pokemon that are at level 1, I do still need to level them up because they get some useful level up moves, and I do need to evolve them as well. So with this new experience share, it is really convenient to level them up all at once because they all gain experience thanks to the experience share. So on that aspect, I really enjoy this new experience share feature in X and Y. And then some other features that we got. You can now ride Pokemon, which is, it's a nice little change. You got Pokemon such as Rhyhorn and Go-Goat, and was there Skiddo too at like one point? And then also Mamoswine was at the Arctic place and what have you, one of those snowy mountains. But that's a nice little change too. And then, like, I believe for the first time you got language selection in a Pokemon game. That is also something completely new that hasn't been done in the past. And Nintendo has been really pushing this international release, and it's really cool that we now got the games simultaneously released worldwide, instead of the Japanese people getting them like 6 months early, and then after that it takes like that half a year for them to be translated and released internationally, and then like maybe a couple of months before in America, and then a couple of months later in the Europe and Australia and what have you, in all sorts of other countries and continents of the world. So now for the first time we got the games released internationally, and I think it was a really nice move by Nintendo. And by the looks of it, the games have been selling gold indeed. They have been selling really, really well. But going back to some other mechanics, I think the one more I would like to mention would be the player search system, the PSS, and it's definitely much more convenient compared to the old system. And now you can have, like with the 3DS system, you can have so many friend codes. I don't know if 3DS has any sort of a friend code limit, but I remember in 5th generation and Gen 4 too, it was really inconvenient because you had like 32 people you could have on your friends list. Then you would have to remove people and add new ones, and then if you would want to battle some guy you battled in the past that you removed, you would have to just kind of cycle and remove and add new friends, and it was just such a hassle. And this PSS system is definitely a step forward and much more convenient compared to the old system. Definitely a diddly do. But then going to some other new mechanics in the game. And now, For the first time since Gold and Silver, we have a new type in Pokemon X and Y in Generation 6. That, of course, being the Fairy type, and I believe there are now currently 37 Fairy type Pokemon. Some old Pokemon got retyped as Fairy type, some of them gained as a secondary Fairy type, and then some Pokemon such as Clefairy, of course, were turned into pure Fairy. It was kind of funny when Fairy type was first introduced and Jigglypuff was told to be part normal and Fairy. People were going like crazy on the interwebs. Why isn't Clefairy Fairy type? It would make sense for Clefairy to be Fairy because Fairy, Fairy, Fairy. But, you know, of course, they just didn't release Clefairy back then, but now it was released that it is a pure Fairy type instead of a normal type, and that kind of changes everything about Clefairy. It's going to be interesting to see how Clefairy will do, or Clefable, excuse me. That would be the best Pokemon competitively to use from the Clefairy family line. How it's going to do competitively. But yeah, this new Fairy type was of course released to kind of balance out dragons. And when you think about it, dragons were really overpowered. You know, it wasn't like there weren't like too many dragons, but the ones that were released in the past generations, you know, dragons had just overall great stats. And great move pools to go with that, and the fact that dragons are only resisted by steel types made them really broken, and the fact that they have great move pools usually meant that they had access to like moves such as Earthquake and Fire Blast to destroy those fire types. I mean those steel types anyway, so steel types really weren't enough to stop those freaking dragon types. But now with the new Fairy types, which have complete immunity to dragons, it's definitely a good way to balance them out, and it's going to be interesting to really see how it works out in the competitive environment. But the fact that you can no longer spam just Outrage and Draco Meteor in Wi-Fi battles, it's when you need to watch out for fairies, it's definitely a big step forward in balancing out those OP pesky dragons. And now continuing on the type chart. So besides Fairy, which is now by the way the 18th type in the Pokemon type chart, we also have some changes to the old ones, and or one of the old ones, that being the Steel type. So it did gain a resistance to the new Fairy type, but it also lost a couple of the old resistances that it had. So in the past it had 11 resistances, now it has only 10. And now the two key resistances that Steel type lost are Ghost and Dark. And this definitely changes everything and makes Gengar even a better Pokemon competitively, because it can hit those Steel types with its Shadow Balls. It doesn't need to rely on that unreliable Focus Blast. You never want to rely on Focus Blast, it's horrible. So now it can, and this especially sucks for those Steel Psychic types, because that was kind of their special niche, because they kind of were this defensive typing that made up for each other's weaknesses, you know, Psychic resisting Fighting, and then Steel type resisting Dark, and Ghost that Psychic was weak to, and also Bug. So now, you know, that defensive combination, like we got Pokemon such as Bronzong and Jirachi and Metagross that only had 2 weaknesses, and Bronzong having only technically 1 because of its abilities, although those could be neutral with abilities such as Mold Breaker. But going besides the point, they had, you know, still 2 weaknesses to Ground and Fire, and now they got 4 weaknesses to Ground, Fire, Dark, and Ghost. So that really sucks for them, because those were really defensive Pokemon on top of that. That was the main thing they had going on. And now they no longer have those key resistances that made them better in the past. Like especially defensive Jirachi, I don't think it's going to be as good in this generation because of these new changes to Steel typing. Like it cannot really take on Gengar as well as it could in the past. Like especially defensive Rachi. I'm sure Rachi will still be used eventually when we get access to the Pokemon bank and everything, you know, when we get to transfer those pokes over, but that's something we don't need to worry about now. But still, just saying that that typing is not really that good. In fact, like the new defensive typing would be Steel and Fairy, because that's like the new Psychic Steel from the old school games, because now the combination of Steel and Fairy is only weak to Fire and Ground, which is the same thing that used to be for Steel and Psychic. So that's kind of interesting, although there are not really that many Fairy Steel types. You got that Klefki, you got the new updated Mawile, and I guess Mega Mawile as well. I don't remember if there's any other ones, but it kind of just sucks for these old good defensive Psychic Steel types that they lost these resistances, but we'll have to see how that's going to work out. But definitely a big change for them, and like I said, special defensive Rachi probably not going to be seen around too much with this new shift in the type chart for the Steel types. And then also some mechanic changes about specific types. So basically Ghost types cannot be trapped by trapping moves, and also this goes for Shadow Tag. So definitely a huge thing for like Mega Gengar not being able to trap, you know, at least some Ghost types. Although Mega Gengar is going to be really good, but at least it cannot trap those other opposing Ghost types. So that's the thing. And also Grass types, they cannot be hit by, I believe, Powder type moves. Also, you know, they couldn't be hit by Lead Seed, and that's still a thing that continues. But now things like I believe it also goes for Spore. So moves like Spore and Sleep Powder, Stun Spore cannot hit Grass types. So that's kind of cool. And another major thing for Electric types is that they cannot be paralyzed. So that is definitely huge. That you know, fast Electric types that rely on their speed cannot be paralyzed by moves like Thunder Wave, and I also believe it goes for moves such as Body Slam. So another thing in the coffin for Jirachi not being able to paralyze, you know, paralyze those fast Electric types that can hit it with powerful thunders and such. But we'll see how that is going to be working out for them. And I guess another quick mention that I could mention is that the weather has been nerfed. So instead of forever, which kind of made a lot of weathers broken, especially you know, rain, they have been nerfed to only last for 5 turns, and then 8 turns with their respective rocks that alter and add more turns to the weather, much like with the manual weather. So that's definitely something that's a huge change. So we might just be seeing the combination of Swift Swim and Drizzle in the OU tier, because this new mechanic change, and also this probably could mean that Excadrill could be sticking longer in this meta game. But yeah, that's definitely a huge nerf for weather, but I think it's only a good thing, because weather lasting forever, you know, a lot of people complained about it, and now it has been nerfed to only last for 5 turns, much like the weather using moves like Sunny Day and Sandstorm, Rain Dance, moves like that. And so, who knows if we are actually going to be seeing more of a manual weather in this generation. No, not to say that the weather-inducing abilities still wouldn't be great, because with those Drizzle, Drought, and Sandstream, you don't have to sack your move slot to a specific weather summoning move. Instead, you can have, you know, still 4 moves to attack with, or do some defensive shenanigans, and still just summon the weather and get out of there, switch out, and go from there. So they're definitely still going to be a huge thing in this generation, but definitely a thing that a lot of competitive fans have been waiting. Like, it has never really made sense that there are these weather summoning moves that only last for 5 turns. They are already worse than the abilities, because you have to sack a move slot for them. So why in the world was the abilities made so significantly better by summoning the weather forever instead of 5 turns? Like, that's something that you know, has been discussed in the past, but now that change has finally been made, and weather has been nerfed. So no longer people should be complaining about the OU metagame at least being controlled by the weather teams and everything. So that is definitely pretty cool and interesting to see how that's gonna work out for the meta. And then I believe also for the first time since Gold and Silver we have base stat changes. Because in Gold and Silver we got the special defense split from the special attack and from the special stat. I mean, there was only in first generation there was that special stat which was then split into special attack and then special defense. But now we have some old Pokemon have gained some mild boosts. Like I believe like Raichu was it? I think he got like 10 more. These are like all kind of like minor changes. But still, you know, kind of interesting to see how they are going to work out. But I believe Raichu got like 10 more special attack. A lot of the first generation Pokemon, they got a nice little boost in their base stats. I believe Alakazam got like 10 more special defense. Pidgeot got more speed, 10 more speed. It is now, instead of 91, it is now 101, which is definitely interesting. Although I don't think that's going to make Pidgeot completely or competitively relevant. But still, you know, nice little changes that we haven't really had in the past when it comes to actually changing the base stats. But now with everything basically changing in Pokemon X and Y, you know, why not change the base stats as well? And it's definitely a nice way to boost up those old Pokemon that weren't, you know, that good. And we shall see how that's gonna really affect them. I also think like Clefable got some sort of boost. Was it in special attack? I don't remember these changes exactly because there are quite many changes and we still don't know all of them which have been made in the Pokemon X and Y games. But that's definitely something interesting that I'm gonna be waiting for to do and see in competitive battles how big of an impact they actually have. Like speed changes especially could have, you know, a huge impact since we're going to be looking at the speed tiers, which definitely play a big role in the competitive scene. But enough of that. Enough of that. Now I would kind of like to then ramble about a bit about the story mode. You know, have this bit more of a casual discussion because, of course, before you can get into the competitive side of things, you do have to beat the in-game. Or actually you don't, but a lot of the good stuff gets kind of unlocked in the after game, such as the Friend Safari and the Battle Mycen place where you can get all sorts of awesome competitive Pokemon items. But yeah, enough of those. That's going to be the story I'm going to be rambling about, hopefully in the future. And then Spade ended up rambling for another 20 minutes. And so, because I would kind of like to keep this show crunch-sized, not too long, like over half an hour or anything, I'm gonna split this first episode like into 2 parts. And the next part you are going to be seeing tomorrow then. And that is when we are going to be continuing rambling from the story mode and stuff like that. And I think now that I just finished up rambling for like 40 minutes, one thing that I did forget to mention, I believe, was trainer customization. That's something that I did kind of want to mention, and it's nice that that feature is now also in Pokemon X and Y. That's something that could have been done a long time ago, and it was kind of getting boring also in Wi-Fi battles, seeing the same face all over again. And now it's a nice little feature that is finally in the game. Character customization, and it's lovely. But anyways, I thank you so much for watching the first episode. I hope you tune in for the next one, and in the future, not only in the next second episode, but in the future episodes, we are going to have like more specific topics that I'm going to be rambling about. You are free to suggest your topics in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed. And hopefully this will be a thing. I would kind of like to... It's fun rambling about things, especially because there's so much going on in Pokemon X and Y. All this new information, all this new everything. But I will not continue rambling on because I was supposed to make a short outro. So thank you for watching again. Until next part, which is coming out tomorrow. Stay tuned. This is TheFlamingSpade signing out. Peace.